Are you with us? Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to the first webinar this year, prepared by Placemaking Europe Kids Working Group. Let children rule the streets. First of all, happy Children's Day. I hope that we're gonna have some fun today, and we're gonna spend this time well. We kindly ask you and inform about a couple of rules that we're gonna have. Very adult things today. So first of all, please stay muted, but turn on your cameras if you can, because it's way nicer for everyone to interact face to face with the audience. That's gonna give us some basic idea about how many of us are there in the room. The important information is that this meeting is being recorded, and the recording is going to be published on our webpage later on. If you have any questions, there is going to be question and answer session at the end of this webinar. So please write down the questions in the chat box, and we're going to make sure that all the questions are going to be answered, even if some of the presenters won't be able to answer your question immediately. Those questions are going to be answered later on. So don't worry, we're gonna do everything that we can to do that. So some words about us, because we are Placemaking Europe, Placemaking Europe Kids Working Group. Basically, we are a group of friends that met for the first time during the Placemaking Week in Valencia in 2019. Then nothing happened for half a year, and then happened pandemic, and like from word to word, we started to meet regularly, and we decided to share our passion with the world. We've organized one webinar last year, and this is our second webinar. The first one was about the kids and cities in general, and the general idea behind our work is to promote the idea of kid-friendly cities by its co-creation by children. It's more about bringing kids on board and treating them as a viable partners in the co-creation of the friendly city for everyone. So working rather with kids than for kids. And by doing so, using placemaking approach and promoting this specific approach to the city. So you can meet us and know more about us and contact us through MyRobot. We created this cool MyRobot where our team has already put our pictures from our childhoods. And we kindly ask you, if you want, of course, to join us in this little event, to stay in touch with us, to do the same. If you have some cool photos of you, this MyRobot link is going to be available for you in the chat box. So please enter the MyRobot and give us some idea about who you are and how to contact you. Yep. That's pretty much it. And now some words about our today's presentation, today's webinar. So about this topic, the mobility. I'm a mobility urbanist at the municipality in Skawina, in south of Poland. So the topic of mobility is very close to me. This topic popped out as a result of the last webinar, and we decided to focus on one of the crucial aspects of life in cities, the movement. Mobility, as this is the topic, is quite often overlooked by the designers, decision makers, politicians, all the other actors. We tend to forget that children are not just smaller versions of 40 years old motorized males. And the cities are quite often designed like by and for around 40 years old motorized males. So therefore, we've invited our great guests representing different fields of expertise to present to you their point of view on the topic of kids' mobility and think how it would be if we let the children rule the streets. The webinar consists of 3 thematic parts. First, about biking with our great guests, Eva Kelly, Lucas Burr, Maud De Vries, Arif Winwijk, and Laura. Then walking with Maya, Victoria, and finally public space and mobility networks with presentations of Loredana, Navsika, and Professor Marco. There will be a question and answer section in the end of the presentation. So without further delay, please welcome the first section and our great guests from Dublin. Our 3 guests, actually. The first is going to be Eva Kelly, the junior bicycle mayor and poet from Dublin, which is kind of interesting connection. She loves her bike and being Dublin's first ever junior bicycle mayor. She's worried a lot about cycle safety. During lockdown, our streets were so quiet, we felt safe, free and in control because there were so few cars and felt like there was a lot more space. It's time to make more space or reclaim the space for bikes and kids. Space equals freedom, safety, health, and happiness. Let's do it. Eva, perfect. Welcome on board. Eva, can you please tell us more about your work as bicycle mayor of Dublin?
Hi everyone. Yeah, get my presentation. It's this one. Yay. Yeah, there you go. So this is my presentation on Let Children Rule the Streets. A city designed by adults. What's the problem? I'll tell you the problem. Cities designed by adults are for adults. Cities for children should have ideas from children. Some of our cycle tracks stop very suddenly, and while an adult is able to cope with this, a child is left in a pretty scary situation. Sometimes right next to a bus. One minute you're cycling along a lovely cycle track, and the next minute it disappears. This is my biggest fear when cycling in Dublin. You never know when your cycle track will just randomly run out. Check out this picture. It's so scary to cycle right beside a bus. You're hoping the driver can see you. We have a lot of new cycle tracks in Dublin, but they're very much designed for high-speed commuter cycling and not with children in mind. There needs to be more space for those cyclists who are not in so much of a hurry, those who just want to go out for a bike ride and have some fun and feel safe. I'd love to see more family-friendly cycle days on lots of routes around the city and into the city so grown-ups are reminded that we all share the same space. And this is a picture of when children took over the streets of Dublin. Encourage more kids to travel actively. What would make it easier for more kids to cycle more often? Space, safety, fun. Green schools should demand safer spaces for those who actively travel to school. If they've done all the work to earn a green flag, they deserve better, safer routes leading to their schools. Why? They will be even greener than they were before, which is great news for our planet. And have healthier, happier, fitter students who will concentrate more. It's a win-win. Planners, think like a kid. Here's a list of my ideas on how planners can think like a kid. Signs to remind high-speed cyclists and motorists that we all are sharing the space. We have, I think, signs should say, share to show you care. Bike rentals for kids in more locations, breakout places to stop and snack along the way with play areas next to breakout places. Places for kids to lock their bikes without needing a ladder. My little sisters can never reach the bar to lock their bikes. I mean, really think like a kid. Sometimes we daydream. We like to feel safe when we do. We love to be active. We adore adventures. The future of the planet is in our hands. Listen to us. Thank you so much for listening for me today.
Thank you, Aoife. This is quite amazing. I'd like to ask you one thing, because you're 12 years old, yeah? Am I right?
Yeah.
And how come that you're the junior bike mayor of Dublin, and what is like? Tell us.
I wrote a poem a few years ago, and for a poetry competition about my bike, and I came second, and that's all kind of started it.
Mm-hmm. And how do you feel about like being that such an important person? Do you feel like a burden that so much depends on you?
Yeah, I think it's a huge honor, really. We're seeing a lot of change as well.
Well, what kind of change would you?
Just some more cycling tracks, and then there's some kind of barriers so the cycle tracks are safer.
That's cool. And what do you think is the most fun part of biking?
You can go anywhere, and it's really environmentally friendly and freedom as well. Just great.
So if it's such an inspiration. You're 12 years old. We have with us also your a little bit older colleague from Amsterdam, Lucas. Lucas is a junior bicycle mayor from Amsterdam, the Netherlands. He represents all cycling children in Amsterdam. He ensures that our children are listened to. Personally, he's very committed to safety while cycling, because when you are safe on the bike, you really appreciate this and you like it much more. He's also looking for junior cycling mayors in the region to tackle problems together. And Lucas, I assume that you also had to write the poem to become a cycling mayor of Amsterdam?
No,
how was it in your case?
No, I didn't write a poem to become the bicycle mayor of junior bicycle mayor of Amsterdam. I actually were contacted by Maat, the CEO of the organization Bikes, who is somewhat the organization behind this whole junior bicycle mayor program. And almost 2 years ago, I did a project with her organization for school, where we were looking at elementary schools in our neighborhood and looking at the kids, how they are cycling and how they are feeling if they are feeling safe and why they are feeling unsafe. And this way I came in contact with the whole cycling topic, and this way Matt knew I existed, and almost yeah, it's now a half a year ago. In November, since November I am now the junior bicycle mayor of Amsterdam.
Perfect, perfect. That's great. And tell me, because you are 17 years old, yeah, and you're in the fifth grade, so exams next year. How do you combine all of this? Because it's kind of a full-time job, isn't it?
Yes, I have to do a very lot of things. That's not a great sentence, but I need to do a lot of things. I have many things to do for school, and now I have this. It's very fun, of course. Next Thursday, I'm going to talk together with Maat and someone from the city of Amsterdam about a mobility plan here in Amsterdam, how they're going to do that in the future. So that's very interesting. And we are doing a project that is called a Green Deal bike. When I translate it, that it's a project where we want to do some pilots here in Amsterdam and looking at why children are getting on the bike and when children are getting off the bike. And we want to fix, I can say, that the children are staying on the bike, and how can we do that? And to do that, we are going to run different kinds of pilots at the elementary school, at the middle school, and at the at preschool. We're going to run a few pilots, and that's a very, very interesting thing. And I'm searching for junior bicycle mayors here in the area around Amsterdam to make a sort of yeah, a junior bicycle mayor group, so we can come together and talk together about different problems and how we can solve those problems. So I have very much things to do, and how I'm combining this, I don't know. I just do, and it works somehow.
That's pretty amazing. And like Aoife told us about what she finds the most difficult while moving around the city designed by adults, and how does it look from your perspective?
Yeah, well, I think I live here in Amsterdam, and when I compare how our adults here in Amsterdam designed the city, I think they've done overall a pretty good job when I compare it to a country like like America. In some places in America, there aren't even free cycle paths where you can cycle, and where you need to cycle next to the busy road and with all the vehicles. So I like how if they've done it here with the whole bicycle network, with the bicycle paths that are completely free and completely lying in the nature, so you don't have to interact or don't have to meet other cars. So that is very, very great what I've done, and I like that very much. But there are also things where I think they should do things different. I mean, we have those scooters. I don't know if it somewhere in Dutch we call it scooters. I don't know if in the English it's an English word, but I don't know if when I say that word you know what I mean. But it are a little bit it are motorized things. They're going pretty fast, sometimes 30 or 40 kilometers an hour, and they are allowed to drive on the cycle path. But when you are with your bike driving there with maybe 15, 16, 17 kilometers an hour, and there's something vroom with 40 kilometers an hour, it doesn't it doesn't feel very safe. So and sometimes when the bicycle path is moving some little narrower to the road, and the space between the road and the bicycle path is very narrow, and when there's then driving a big truck or a bus, then it doesn't feel very nice. But overall it's I like it, but it can always be better.
Perfect, thank you. You've mentioned during your speech now. A very important person and very important organization, MOD. MOD from Bikes. Bikes is an Amsterdam-based social enterprise driven by the belief that bicycles transform cities and cities transform the world. She's one of the people behind the idea of the bicycle mayors, like in general. Maud is with us, and I'd like to ask you, Maud, uh, how did it all happen? I mean, what's behind the idea of bicycle mayor program? And let's start
Yeah,
with this.
let's start with that. Well, that
Hello.
was around 5 or 6 years ago when we were thinking about how to address, making cities happier and healthier, and making sure we again have high quality of life in cities using the bicycle, because we really believe, and I think bikes is a foundation is there, that we really believe that cycling is more than transportation. We feel it's transformation. And therefore, when we started, we announced we're going to have a bicycle mayor in Amsterdam, which happened around 5 years ago. And now we have over 120 in cities worldwide. I just saw Marina from Cyprus. She's the bicycle mayor there. I just saw her coming in. That's nice. Nice to see you, Marina. But actually, I think it is very, I think it is very important that we think about cities fit for children. And the more we do work in that area, the more we notice the importance. So basically here in the Netherlands right now, the situation is like this. For over a couple of years, less kids are using the bicycle, and our government doesn't really see it. So now with the 7 bicycle mayors in the Netherlands, including Lucas, we're going to be addressing this in a petition to the minister, because we really believe that every city, every country should make an effort to get kids on bicycles. And next to that, we totally believe in the power of children, as you just saw the 2 beautiful presentations from the both Eva and Lucas. And I want to propose you both to do a study tour. Maybe Lucas, you should go to Dublin, and Eva, come to Amsterdam. And we'll arrange something, because you definitely should see each other's situation. And so one of the things we designed was the Bicycle Heroes campaign that came from an idea from the Amsterdam bicycle mayor, Katelijne Boerma, because she really felt like kids should have something to say in the process. So we're gathering lots of ideas in the city from children, seeing how we might plug their ideas and really start to build it. So the previous junior bicycle mayor of Amsterdam, he wanted to build a path. We're working on that now with the city government, and I think it's really important to do so, and to also address that, and to make sure that it happens not only in Amsterdam but all around the globe. And the second thing we're doing is also, if you look at the bicycle in itself, it's a tool for change. And we were also very inspired by Greta Thunberg and the younger generation to stand up, and to show that you can beat a change. And with the bicycle and riding it every day, you are a change maker. And therefore we thought it would be good to sort of introduce this idea of junior bicycle mayor. With Lucas, we're now testing to also have a council in the region where you can sort of work together, collaborate with the city government, and really implement things on the spot. So that's what we want to be doing in Amsterdam. And the coming years, we want to grow all this work.
Okay, cool. So that's quite impressive. Can you please tell me, for instance, we have quite a big audience here, and what if someone from the audience would like to introduce that kind of position within their municipality? What should be done there?
So what
How
we
to
did,
accomplish that?
you mean a junior bicycle mayor or bicycle
Yes.
mayor? So basically what we did was creating a toolkit for cities that want to have a bicycle mayor. So what would be a good start there is to organize a competition, of course, and see how to do that. So we are not only organizing the network and training everyone and giving everybody all the tools, but we're having a toolkit for change makers in cities. So if you guys want to have a bicycle mayor or a junior, please reach out to me, and I'll make sure you get all the tools you need to find a bicycle mayor for your city.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. And can you just tell us one more thing about the next steps? Because you have quite an ambitious goal of 50 by 30. 50% of all trips worldwide done by bike by 2030.
Yeah.
So the bicycle mayor is the first step. What are the next steps then?
Yeah, so also some programs and other activities, but of course we're not the only
Mhm.
ones working in the field. And I also think that it's not only cycling, it's combined. It's sort of more active mobility in the end that will make the change, and that's what we're fighting for in the end. But we do feel there's a special position for the bicycle in this realm. So definitely, I feel if that's a change we want to be making, we definitely need to reach out to each other and see where we can create this space, create awareness, and collaborate together to make sure this is going to be the thing that we want to be seeing. But we've taken so far, we've taken an agile way of doing it, and basically what we're focusing on now is the power of people combined to the potential of data. And I think that is the angle that we, together with other organizations, should be taking.
Okay, thank you very much, Maud. That's quite an inspiration. Before we move on, I'd like to come back to Aoife. Aoife, can you please share with us what do you want to tell us on June the 1st? Like one message from you. Wait, you're muted. Can you unmute yourself? Because I can't unmute you. This mic down there.
Hi, sorry.
Oh yeah, perfect. So what do you want to share with us today?
Sorry, my computer glitched. I'm really sorry.
Okay, no problem. Can you hear me?
Sorry?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello? Eva? Oh, we have some technical difficulties all of a sudden. Eva, can you hear me? Oh, so maybe we'll move on to Lucas. Lucas, what do you want to share with us on the June the 1st?
I mean, what I said, I'm looking for junior bicycle mayors here in the area around of Amsterdam. I know this is very international public that's watching here, but maybe you know someone that is living in Badhoevedorp, Hoofddorp, or some city around Amsterdam, so we can make this council of various junior bicycle mayors, and we can speak up. Let's hear our voice together, and let the volwassenen, and let the adults, yes, that is it, let the adults listen to us, and together we are stronger, and together we can solve problems that we are seeing in our own neighborhood. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Aoife, can you hear us? There is some.
Okay, I can hear you now. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. So what do you want to share with us on June the 1st?
Well, I just want cycling to be safer around the area and cycle tracks to stop just running out, and just safer cycle tracks and family friendly cycle tracks. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. And I hope that you're gonna find your next beautiful bike as well, because Aoife is looking for a new bike. Her whole story started with her gorgeous yellow bike that was probably designed by someone. And in a matter of fact, we have some people who are responsible for designing those cool, beautiful machines with us. Arif Winwijk and Laura Troliken,
yes,
from the company Kruitbosch. Arif has more than 10 years of experience designing innovative consumer products in many industries. He's passionate about creating meaningful innovations by transforming complex challenges into simple, user-friendly, and aesthetic solutions. He joined Kruitposch in July 2020 as a designer responsible for the design of the Alpina and Cortina collection. In his career, he has won several design awards, including Red Dots and GIO. And Laura has been working as a graphic designer and stylist at Kruitposch since the beginning of 2021. Before this, she worked for more than 7 years as a graphic designer and marketing specialist at the theme park aimed at children between 2 and 14. She finds the challenge in creating good-looking designs that enhance the perception of the discovering child. So, guys, the floor is yours.
Thank you for this great introduction. I might have to major in Assen because I live there. Yeah, thank you for this opportunity to speak for this webinar, and hopefully we can inspire you to contribute to the understanding of how public spaces, children, and lifestyle influences bike design. First of all, I want to kick off with a short movie. I would like to understand how it is from a child perspective, to see how they experience traffic, and I have a short movie for them. As designers, of course, these kind of moves give us a lot of insight how a child acts and reacts during a normal trip to school. They're biking to school right now. It also gives us more the feeling how it is to ride such a small bike, just to understand. And as you notice, the line of sight is very low, so their eyes seeing different things than we do as adults. And yeah, therefore, it is very important to being visible in the traffic, and that's very important. Also, you notice that the child is maneuvering through the traffic. They never cycle straight line. As you heard it before, they're dreaming, and they have always things to do. Now you can see they participate in the street with cars, and now they are entering a kind of section. And you can see also that the child in front of her, that bike is just a little bit too big. So she's has a hassle to step up the bike again. So we always say, watch for the bike that fits the child very well. That's very important, and they can safely step off. Well, this was first an introduction of our presentation. So let's now talk about Alpina. Now you know how to ride a bike. We are situated in the Netherlands, in Zwolle. We have two brands as Kruitposch company, Alpina for the children bikes and Cortina for young adults and adults. Kruitposch itself started around 1955 as a wholesale in bike and bike parts. And back then all orders were placed on a small piece of paper. It's different now. So these days we are in Zwolle, province Overijssel, and on the picture you can see a great wall of colors in our design studio. So we can say always the great bikes are designed in the Netherlands. Now a bit more background of the brand itself. We're designing now 15 years with all pleasure children bikes. We design them trendy, according lifestyle for the kids at the age of 2 to approximately 12 years. We do sell in the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, and in total we sell around 40,000 items per year. Nowadays, only via specialist bicycle shops, but in the near future, next year, we are starting to investigate that you can order your own bike via the web. Our segment is mid to high range, and we try to refresh our collection every year. Now, a bit more about our positioning. Everything is tested against our core values, which is unique, strong, fun, smart, together. Our products, our way of communicating, and our behavior needs to match all these Alpina values. Those values make us relevant and tell you who we are and what you can expect from us. Now, this is a very handy chart for us. This overview shows actually our approach of design. All our bikes are designed with specific target group in mind, both for parents and also important the children of the parents and the children. Both parents buy the bike, children use the bikes. So, for example, when you're designing for a 2 years old, we know what size of bike they need, what environment and lifestyle they probably might have, and most important, which stage of development they are, and in terms like bike skills. So when you are 3 years old, you need balancing wheels, and for a 12-year-old, you're going to high school. And a carrier is very handy. So now it comes the recipe to how to design a bike, and how will you involve children with this design. Now, first of all, this is a picture which shows already a bit how creative our process is, and that's very important to design a children's bike. For this story, I want to highlight a few steps out of this process, which is research, brainstorm, and design. Now, this is a packed slide, it's full, but yeah, it's kind of a chaotic process, but these kinds of tools helps us to structure it. We call it insight generation. What you can see here is an overview of the target group we designed for, with all possible scenarios during daily use. You can see how when the kid parks the bike, how does it maintenance, and what does it when it falls and stand up. So all these scenarios we observe and make pictures and learn from it. Then we sit around the table and ideate around it what be beneficial for that particular situation on the bike and for the bike. While also taking consideration safety, of course, we try to have the basic package for all safety on our bikes, like reflectors, good quality bike belts, and lights to be maximal visible and yeah, good insight. And then, of course, the design part, which is very important. This is when the real creativity starts. It's sketching. It's very important. Don't lose that skill. We call also this the 2-day phase. It's a great way to explore different forms, variations. Well, at that point, we have already briefed that the frame should be like sportive or cruiser-like. And within that frame, we can go in any direction. Also, the first ideas of color and materials comes to mind. So in this stage, it's more about quantity than quality. And then at the end, you want to go to, one bike you want to go for. And then we use a nice presentation sketches. So good to share with stakeholders. But also it's good to, now is also the moment to validate with them target group. So we show them the bike to our 2 kids, for example. And what they can do is like or dislike it, and they give comment, and could trigger maybe also to enrich the concept, as you can see in the bottom right, which is of course feasible. Well, the next step is finally we make a 3D model of the concept. We use special software for that. Also, supply parts are added to the bike, like grips, saddles, pedals, cranks, parts that we style and not particularly design. With that data, the rest of the process can continue. Also, for the engineers and production, these 3D bikes are helpful to understand our design intent. Well, actually, that's not the end of concerning the design, of course. To enrich the bike more further, I want to give the floor to Laura.
Yes. Well, hello. My name is Laura, and I am a CMF and graphic designer for Alpina Bicycles. And I would like to give you a short look at the rest of our designing process. As a CMF designer, I take care of the color, material, and finishing of the children's bikes. It all starts with microtrends and upcoming consumer trends. One important microtrend, for example, is state of the city. More and more cities will be designed for the use of bicycles instead of cars. Based on microtrends, we create different mood boards. Those mood boards are linked to our target groups and the bikes which belongs to those target groups. Mood boards are guiding in the design process. They help us define the color palettes and graphic elements, and they set boundaries. Once the colors and graphics are defined, it's time to start the creative process and let it all come together on the bike. In this part of the process, I created decals, and I take extra care about small details like the bell, the saddle, rims, and brake cables. There are several ways in which we let children participate in the design process. Before the pandemic, about 3 times a year, we invited an elementary class to our office and we did a workshop with them. In the first part of the workshop, they were asked to design their own bicycle. In the second part of the workshop, we teach them about bike mechanics, and some of our engineers explain to children all ins and outs about the bikes. The third part was a fun part in which they could try the bicycles in our large warehouse. It was a good opportunity for us to observe how the children interact with the bikes. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, we weren't able to invite the children to our office. Luckily, we found other ways in which we could let them participate in the design process. We made a connection with elementary schools and let children create the bike of their dreams in their classroom. There were no limits, everything was possible, and they were allowed to give their bikes everything they liked, like for example, baskets. And luckily, we got back a lot of beautiful bicycles, as you can see here. Workshops like these with our target groups gives us a lot of new insights. For example, about how children behave on the bicycles, what they like and dislike about them, and above all, how they look at their bikes. It sometimes gives us outcomes we expect, but sometimes they are surprising and inspiring, like these 3. In the image on the left, the boy drew cool multicolored tires. In the image on the middle, a boy gave his bike rainbow grips. The image on the right shows us that it's important for children to be able to carry their belongings, like a football, with them. One important insight we got is that the way children look at their bikes is way different than the way we look at our bikes as adults. We see the bike more as a total, in which all separate parts come together and form one bike. Children, however, tend to scan their bike. They notice even the smallest details, and they can really fall for a specific detail, like a nice pattern on the saddle, a cool quote which empowers them, or a glittery brake cable. So when we style the bikes, we take extra care about the details. You can see that in our Jabber bike, for example. It has a green saddle pattern, cool quotes, and the tires have a special green line in it, which gives the bike that extra thing, which empowers children and makes them feel cool. As you can see, when designing children's bikes, we keep our target groups in mind with every step we take. We observe them and let them actively involve in our design process. Their perception of the world is our inspiration, and empowering them is our goal. For us, this is how we see the relation between the child, the bicycle, and the public space. This was our presentation about Alpina and our design process. Are there any questions regarding this presentation, or does someone have a remark?
Well, great ideas.
Thank you, guys. That was really inspiring.
Thanks.
And we often forget that all those things that we are looking at are being designed, and there is some science behind all of them.
Yeah.
This is really important. It's also a crucial voice in discussion, treating children not as a smaller version of adults, because it's all completely different. So thank you, guys. We're going to ask the questions at the question and answer section. Meanwhile, when the bikes are not present or not always present, we need to walk. So we will move now to the walking section of our webinar with our great member, great guest, Maja Simonetti from Ljubljana, Slovenia. My personal inspiration, my work. She's doing amazing stuff over there. She's a landscape architect and special planner. She works as a project manager and research fellow at IPOP, Institute for Special Policies, which is a consultancy and NGO from the field of sustainable urban development. Her interest in the participation of children in the planning and management of local mobility is based on her conviction that participation is a key to the effective management of public affairs and that children are important building block of the community and therefore necessarily a partner in these affairs. Maya, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Maciej. I'm going to share my screen. And yes, thank you very much for letting me talk to you today. I'm coming to you with a project of ours, which is dealing with active travel to school and healthy cities. And it's actually a story about how we are involving children in the processes of preparation of local walkability plans and in the planning of school routes. And I hope I'm going to be able to explain it shortly and good enough for you what we are doing. But first, let me just for a moment tell you I'm not alone in what I'm doing. Of course, EPOP, the Institute for Spatial Policies, is private, non-governmental and consultancy in Ljubljana, Slovenia. We are like a group of people, architects, geographers, sociologists, working in, I would say, 4 or 5 main fields of sustainable development. There is the first field of work we are all eager in for public participation. Then there is walking. Then there is mobility and parking policy, placemaking and urban policy in general. That's what we are doing, and our projects are around these fields of work. So the Active Travel to School and Healthy City program is a program which is going on right now and started in 2019 and is going to be in progress for a year or something on. It is a project that continues our work we started like somewhere in 2015. And the first initiative was what can we do for children so that they will move more, because they really have very critical, we have critical situation about children's health. So Slovenian children would have, like in 2008 to 10, really bad data about being really obese and too heavy, not moving enough. So the Ministry for Health supported this project that we would sort of move children on their way to school, what we can do to make them to walk or to bike. And we started with this project, which was called Healthy Schooler, and try to develop this idea that we should really quickly work with children when they enroll to schools, that they will start to go to school by foot or by bike, not that they will start because they are small and they have to be accompanied by their parents to be driven to school by cars. The project made quite some interesting results. First of all, we managed to prepare the toolkit for the schools, how they can organize this walking to school with pedibus and bike trains. So with 2 types of organized walking to school for younger children, because they need company, so that we would be able to offer the parents that they can enroll children to this organized walking and biking to school and not driving them. We organized this toolkit for walking and biking to school. And we also, in next year, got the support of not Ministry of Health, but Ministry of Environment and Spatial Development. And we prepared a toolkit for mobility plans for schools. So if children health was one issue of the project, the other issue was, of course, also the traffic congestion around the schools and the really bad impacts on environment because of this traffic. So the other intention of the project on the changing the way how we travel to school and around the schools was, of course, also to sort of loosen the traffic and the pressure in morning hours when the children are driven there. That's why the mobility plans for schools. But then in the next year, we started to organize already with the support of the Ministry for Health, first demonstrating options of going to school with bike train and pedibus. And I must say, children really adore the bike train. They really love it. But of course, they also are very happy if they are able to go by foot instead of being driven to school by their parents. I must say that what we found out about how children travel to school is really critical for our work. So how they go to school, they would much rather go actively than they can, meaning their parents are too careful or too self-observed to be able or to be willing to support their children to travel the way they would like to, or they don't have time, or there are, of course, many different kind of reasons. But in many cases, we can find out that even children which are living close to their homes, they would be driven to school by cars. And in the opposite to this, if you ask them, they would really like, to walk or bike to school. Most of the children, whenever we are talking to them in whatever the region of the city in Slovenia would be, they would say they would like to bike. So biking is the really preferable way of going to school. Maybe also using the scooter, but definitely not being in a car with your parents. That's not something children would really like to go to school. So when we were talking like this with children and finding out this disparity, that children are actually willing to travel differently, we decided also we are going to talk with them a bit more about the safety on the streets, because parents would usually say that streets are not safe enough. That's why we are driving them. And we soon found out that it's not actually the truth. Children wouldn't agree about what is safe and what is not safe, and they would find much less and different kind of situations on streets which are really dangerous, and they would also be able to suggest how we can improve that and what could be done. And it was really inspiring for us, finding that they're so able, to read the space, to read how the people act, how the traffic goes on. The traffic culture is all under their control, and they are also able to tell us and to inform us how to improve this. So we sort of build these interesting partnerships, having children there as part of analytical crew, but also part of the new creative force behind the new measures. And then we had the parents. Through the children, we also had the parents, and we had the teachers and school staff and local community, of course, in this partnership, working on how children travel to school. And what we managed to do was we managed to really very nicely improve the maps of school routes. So on these maps, we first decided to draw the isochrones of how far it is from school to walk. So children can, and the parents and everybody could have the idea what is the part of the city which is like 5 minutes away, 10, 15, 20 minutes away from school, so that we are not talking about the children can walk, but it would be like really too far for them to walk. And this kind of presence of how close or how far we live from the school was part of talking and promoting the walk. And there, of course, we put on this map the route of school buses on all the stops, and also we tried to overlap the stops of school bus with the stops of bike train and pedibus, so that children can go off the school bus and they can walk together with other children to school. So they would have the daily part of their moving and being physically active. Um, what children decide, what children proposed, and what was like really nice was that they decided that also the children who have to be driven because they really live far away and their parents, have to drive them, they could be also left out of the cars a bit far from the school, and again able to walk a bit towards the school. And they proposed that we organize these stops, called them Kiss and Ride, or Poljubi in Otpeli in Slovenian, which are the new stop signs in the public space where it is safe to stop the car and leave your child out, and then a child can walk to school safely because the routes are there really good planned and also signed and everything. Or he can also, or she can also join the pedibus, which is also on this the same route. So this is one of the findings from the really close cooperation with one school. And what we also have done in this situation, we also asked the children so that they were talking about this experience and their proposals to the mayor's office, so that the ideas were also shared, with the adults who are in charge of, and having the political option to change things. And yeah, and this inspired us that we started a new project. We proposed a new project with the Ministry for Health. And this project is about three activities. First is we still support schools which are organizing PD buses and bike trains. So we have all the materials and toolkits, and we give seminars for the organizers so that children can walk and bike. And out of 500 and something schools in Slovenia, more than 100 already tried the system, and some of them are on a regular basis using the system and supporting children in walking and biking. But the second activity in this project is about preparing the demo local walkability plans. And here these plans are actually developed and prepared on a base of our experience of what we have done with school maps. So with maps of walking to school. So we said, okay, the school is a central, public institution. Everybody is really interested that children are safe in space. And we are going to do this now, not for the school area, but we are going to take the central part of the city, draw down the isochrones and show the people how far from the center part they are living. And now we are starting to talk with them around this, what we can do so that they will be able to walk more often and be then, of course, also more healthy. And also in this activity, children are our participators. They are part of our analytical group, and they help us to detect problems in public space, problems for people who are on the street walking around to school and to other activities. And they also help us to define some measures for improvement. So what we have learned, and or what are our lessons we would like to share with you, is that children are really very well aware of the environmental and the social benefits of walking. And if we involve them like really as equals in all the parts of processes of analytical process and of the measurement preparation and discussion, we can get like really very good results, and we can quickly change the habits because their voice is really strong, and the adults are really impressed about how they can talk about it. We at the end have had the ability to listen to two young people today, and we could hear how very eloquent they are about the problem. The other thing is that they are really very careful observers, meaning that they care about environment, they care about other people, they're really aware of who is in a bad position and who needs help. they are also, as I said, capable and reasonable and responsible planners, and they can really help us to improve urban design and do some great thing in placemaking. And yes, I think we would also like to share our opinion that the participation in urban planning and design is every child's right. That would be all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maya. That was really great. As I said, I know Maya for some time already, and I know her work for quite a bit. And I must say that we just basically copied some things that you did in Slovenia, in my municipality, and it works fine. So I strongly recommend to you, to everyone from our audience, to take a close look at the IPOP webpage and check on those. So you can just contact them, I guess, and contact Maya, and she's always very helpful. So yeah, and that's how they do it in Slovenia. But how do they do it in Ecuador? That's the question, and we're gonna probably find it out through the presentation of Victoria Chavez from Huasipichanga. Victoria is an Ecuadorian architect living in the Netherlands for the last 3 years. She's finalizing master's degree in the social spatial planning at the University of Groningen. Together with the young professionals, they started Huasipichanga in the search for better and inclusive cities. She's driven by the idea that better cities are possible by citizen engagement and participatory planning. For her, it is important to be involved in the current social discussions, seeking human-centered approaches that focus on engagement, collaboration, and participation, where research and technology are enablers to bridge theory and practice. Victoria, the floor is yours. How do they do it in Ecuador?
Thank you, Maciel. Well, I hope I can also translate the message. Thank you for Maya explanation. I also thought it was amazing to see that perspective from a program overview. And I think now I'm gonna try to share a perspective from a project overview, like how do we do it from the grassroots up, and hope that actually this replication can turn into a program eventually. So maybe the other side of the coin of how we are trying to promote our practice. Let me share my screen and okay. I think it's loading a bit. Okay, here we go. Well, let the children rule the street. I think we can much align our way of working to that. What we are aiming or envisioning is actually to have kids as the main actor of our projects, in position as actually as a mediator of the process. Not we are not solving anything. We are not proposing anything. We are actually creating a structure where they can develop what they need with their solutions from their perspective, and simply providing this umbrella where they can participate, basically. And in this case, well, I want to talk to you about urban pedagogy experiences, which is the last project we have been working on in the last pandemic year. And basically, in this case, and in this first school that we are working on, it's about promoting alternative mobility around schools. And I mentioned it as the first pilot because, again, we needed to find through urban pedagogy what was the real problem for these students, what was the urban problem that was happening around the school that they wanted to solve. And why do we do it? We do it because we want better cities. We want better cities to live, to include people, so basically to co-create, and to play, because of course, from kids to adults to elderlies, living in the city should be this experience where we are all playing. And firmly with the belief that if it's good for children, then it's going to be good for everyone else. So that's why we design with that perspective. Tú también construyes Cuenca, as Maciel mentioned. It's a project in Cuenca in Ecuador, a city in the south of the country, in South America. Translated to English, you also built Cuenca. And I think from the name, you can already perceive that the idea, and the first idea, is the empowerment. We want to show these kids and these children that they have a saying, that they have a place in participation, that they have a role. And through this information, through this education, or through this space that we're bringing to them, they can develop that participation part. And well, we strongly believe that they are the future. They are the people that later on will be making decisions in the city, will be living in these cities. So we might as well start early in involving them on all these possibilities that they can create together, so that whenever, let's say, they are adults and they can actively participate, even vote, they are well more informed about what are the possibilities that their participation creates in cities. And that's why we start with these two concepts, urban pedagogy and active mobility. Why urban pedagogy? We believe that decentralizing the knowledge about city matters. It's the way to actually engage the citizens. In this case, engage the children by understanding these concepts, these terms. Why are they good for me? Maybe I think already internalizing something that we know already. We know that walking is better. We know that biking is better. You know, these concepts. If I'm in the nature, I'm gonna feel better. I feel more energetic. But understanding the city should provide you these options. The city should provide you safe walking routes to school, should provide you greener spaces around home in a walkable distance. So when you start understanding what you can also demand from your planning, then you start to feel empowered also about it. So that's the goal of having urban pedagogy as the core of the project, where the idea is to actually transmit this knowledge and seek in the future to have well-informed and a way more effective urban participation from the citizens to the rest of the stakeholders. And on the other side, active mobility, that I think all of us know the benefits, but the idea is also to tell them that they deserve an active, independent, safe mobility for themselves and for the caregivers. I think the context that we are working on as well, it's a medium-sized city where, you know, the idea of development is to have more roads. That's the cultural idea of like we are, you know, growing, or that, oh, there's more money in the country, maybe because we are building more hard infrastructure. So also to change a little bit and to approach this mindset that actually the feeling of being more healthy or more active by walking is not a feeling. It's a proven thing that you can demand from your city to provide you as infrastructure to actually use and to actually, you know, engage in this participation. So also the idea is to promote this concept of active mobility, not as leisure or recreational time, more as a way of living, more as a transformation for a daily daily use. And I think based on that, what we start is this: how do we develop a co-creation process with the youth? How do they become the main actor of this process? We create, and as I was saying, what we create is the structure for them, where we start is thinking if we can work together with students in schools and provide this framework of how do we implement these ideas, how do we find the problems. So we kind of and also right now you see it all clean drawn there, but to get to this, it was also working eventually and realizing what works and what doesn't work. What is the first step? What is the second step? And normally you have to go back again. Not everything happens linear as you wish, even more when you're in a pandemic, when yeah, there's so many challenges going on, where we were teaching about resilience and we had to learn to be resilient ourselves as well, because then you have to manage a process that it's changing and moving around all the time. And you can see here, yeah, in the graph, that it's not really, it has been jumping everywhere. But what we have defined through this pilot is that we need an orientation phase. We need a phase where we share concepts, we share the same understanding, where we and we, I mean the children, research about what are the problems, what are the possible solutions, a conceptualization where we can set up those ideas, those visions a little bit more clearly and understand the possible impact of those decisions. A co-design a point where actually, okay, now we have the idea, how do we materialize it? How do we want it to look like? What do we do for it? An implementation where we have to build it together and we have to feel, oh, I paint this, so I don't want anyone to erase it because that spot is mine, and that we create this appropriation, but actually building it together. And then, of course, an evaluation phase that is the use. How is it being used? And how do we measure this use? How do we actually verified that it's being used correctly, or how it can be replicated later on, adjusting all the previous steps that we have already defined as a process. And you can see here that we have an academic and in practice, because actually because of COVID and not being able to be physically there, for all the kids to be physically there, of course, and as Maya mentioned, some parents were also extra care, maybe, that I don't want my kid to go in. In Ecuador, we had like very strict regulations because of COVID. So imagine people could not even go to parks or for a walk. You were really confined at home. And then there was also this very strong idea of being scared about it. So even if you were allowed, people were choosing not to do things or not to go to open spaces. And that was translated also to children. They could also not go. So we had to split the process to try to reach all of them into an academic part of it, where they could actually follow up the same concepts by more research part, and then an in practice part of it, where they could actually, you know, get hands-on and start doing things and being physically present in the place. That was also yeah, something new for us. And then, well, just to share with you this short story about what actually happened when we implement all these steps. And the first orientation phase, that it's like a bomb of information where you start collecting, and the kids start collecting, first of all, understanding why I don't walk to school or why I don't bike to school. And we map, because of course, everyone lives super far away. In this city, we don't have district schools. Almost the majority, even private or public schools, you have to register for it, and they can be anywhere. So actually you live pretty far. So it's, and I mean pretty far, but like more than 30-40 minutes walk. So you're used to go either by bus or by car. So that was the first connotation of why are we not walking. Then understanding how much things have changed, right? Then we had some calls with some elderly of the area, of the neighborhood, telling how much they used to walk before, for the kids to understand why are they not walking to school now. Also, we did, for instance, some maps at home. You can see that they were mapping how much is 1.5 meters, right? Let's draw it in my living room to understand how much distance I have to take in a space, because we kind of give it already assume that we know and we can perceive distance in the same way. We also had to do, of course, a few introductions to the parents, create some videos to explain them what's the idea behind all of this, ask them questions. And it was amazing, because in several surveys, and the best one was that 92% of the parents were happy to let the kids walk to school, for all the benefits, to decentralize the traffic, to have a more clear environment, to enhance their cognitive activities in the morning and so on. So it was actually nice to see that it was very possible and very positive, the impact of what could happen there. And also it was interesting for them to actually walk around the school. Kids that are used to be left at the door of the school and be picked up at the door of school, that they don't know the area around the school because they have never had to actually. So the fact that that we asked them, go walk around and take pictures about what do you like, where do you feel unsafe, or what do you think is nice, like just walk around and make your own conclusions about the area, and to understand what are the problems that they are actually perceiving, or if they don't perceive any problem, right? So all these orientations around what's actually happening here happen in the first phase, taking us to actually in the second and the conceptualization to define actually what could be if we know what are the problems that are around, that is never one, it's a series of things that are happening all together, and what can be a possible solution to actually at least make the first step. So with them, we arrived to the conclusion that, okay, since we cannot say everyone is going to walk to school from now on, which will be ideal, or everyone is going to bike, why don't we create an area that it's safe for us, that we can at least create this buffer time where we do walk to school, where we do embrace all of these benefits of walking to school. So the idea was to create this decentralized hop on and hop off stations where their parents still will drive them, but not to the school door, but to this around 10-minute walk to safe points that will be clearly defined, that will have teachers there waiting for them, that will be safe, and that we will define from that point to the school a very clear, safe walking route for them to arrive to school there. So it was kind of like, let's meet in the middle point. So let's still perceive all these benefits, but we cannot embrace the problem in a totality. It's a middle way to try to create mainly a behavioral change, because we know from this it's gonna start growing and it's gonna start facilitating more active mobility. So then based on this, and as I told you before, we had two focus areas. We had an academic area, we had a in practice area. And what was super rich from the academic part was also that we started comparative research. We started research where all the kids had to choose 2 countries plus Ecuador to make a comparative analysis of what was happening regarding COVID and public space and public space regulations, what happened with temporary and permanent interventions in the space, what happened regarding the mobility to education, for example, and create what they will be proposing to enhance active mobility and so on. And what was super nice and very, very fulfilling also is that they start writing a lot. What we experienced through the workshops, and especially with teenagers, is that they are not all very open to participate through Zoom, that we had to talk. They have been in classes the whole day, in digital classes. So sometimes it was a little bit heavy to push to feel the engagement, but we realized that through writing, actually a lot of doors open up. So they opened emotionally a lot, which was hard to deal with actually. We asked them in one essay to actually write positive experience long term from the pandemic, like what from everything that has happening long term, what is the main things that you will actually perceive as positive. And although you could read about a lot of loss and about a lot of grayish feelings, then there was a lot of positive stuff coming out, and they open up a lot about, okay, now I learned to appreciate what is to go to a park actually more because I couldn't for so long, or what is going to bike. Even I appreciate what it is to go to school every day because they haven't for a year. So it really opens a lot of doors on, and it was the perfect moment for us to embrace this project. And well, in the other hand, we had the in practice part of the project with the kids that were able to as well go physically to the area, we start also this brainstorming, this a design, co-created design with them about what do they like to see. If we want a vibrant route to school, what would they like to see in the place, and why, and what that means to them. So it was a lot of exercises with them about defining what is our design, right? If it's our route, what do we want to see there? So we started a lot of practical exercises, from understanding the space and to understanding also what colors do we like, what do we like them, and what does it mean to us.
Victoria, I'm extremely sorry. Can you like speed it up a little bit?
Yes. Let me continue with the next. It's just that my computer is lagging a bit, so it goes very slowly. But well, ultimately,
I mean, we are a little bit out of time.
Yeah. Okay, so I will just show you very quickly the last slides of where we are standing with the process right now. Yes, about the design itself and the implementation itself. And yeah, where are we continuing with the next steps about the data collection, maintenance, monitoring about the implementation itself. And what was the idea to actually scale up the other way around? So it's starting from one school and scaling around the rest of the area in schools, and actually you could see how they overlap and create this complete route of schools. And how in numbers we also grow up as a team. It's just not 8 Wasipichanga committed technical people doing the work. It's more than 100 students, it's the school tutors, it's the municipality that start engaging in the process and actually working around it. And finally, the whole team that it's working in this project, that it strongly believes that we do need to do things together to actually engage the community in order for a process to happen. So yeah, that's the story. Thank you, Maciel.
Gracias, Victoria. That was really interesting. How we walk in Ecuador around schools, and the interesting thing is that you can have a lot of fun while walking, and you can have a lot of fun not only in Ecuador, but you can have a lot of fun in Puria as well. And we have my dear friend from Puglia with us, Loredana, representative of Art Community Association, but I know her from her splendid work in Ginoza, where she was working with kids and doing amazing stuff, but she's not going to tell us today about that. She's an architect with 16 years of international experience in territorial planning and sustainable urban mobility planning. She's a mobility manager, expert on sustainable urban mobility plans, member of Scientific Committee of Europe and Italia, and head of territorial planning and sustainable mobility at the School of Engineering and Architecture. She has been working with the public and private sector at the national and international level. Her main projects are focused on urban and territorial planning, sustainable urban mobility plans, architecture and construction. There's so many things that she's doing. That's
let's
insane.
go on. Yeah.
So let's show it. Loredana, the floor is yours.
Let's play the game. Yeah, actually, I'm really involved in this. Thank you to everyone for this conference. I'm very much interested on all those thematics and what's going on is going on around the world. And for sure, I get inspiration from more of you. Actually, I'm working on gamification and how gamification is influencing our lifestyle. So today I'm going to show you a project I'm working in, with the name is Metro Games. And with this project, walking is a game, no? So This project, what is this project? Sorry, just a moment, because, okay. The project is a social game associated to an IT platform able to promote sustainable mobility in urban context, involving citizens and, of course, younger people and adults and stakeholders. So let's go how it works. This is still a pilot project, a prototype that we are going to develop thanks to a regional fundings, which is called InnoLabs. And the project adopts the Living Labs approach, which is a methodology that connects potential users with designer in order to experiment new products. And for sure, this approach allowed users to participate in the development of the product, of the project, creation of the product. And InnoLabs had many fields of intervention, and with Metro Games, which was for sure sustainable mobility. I don't know if you you can see all the partners involved in this project, which is still in course of development. The site where we are going to test the pilot project is in Acquaviva delle Fonti, which is a small village with 21.000 inhabitants in the southern part of Italy. I don't know how many of you know Italy. So Acquaviva is in the province of Bari. And those are some images of the village. More or less, it's quite smaller, but people are used to go by car always, even if you take 5 minutes to go from one place to the other place. Acquaviva delle Fonti has recently developed its first sample. And here you have some images where of this measure we try to go to development. One was related with his historical center, which is now a limited traffic zone, but also some measure about cycle paths and cycle route connected with the landscape. And of course, walkability plan, taking care of schools position and babies route. The last measure we developed was related with the Metro Minuto, which is a map, a schematic pedestrian map based on the aesthetic transit map, marking the distance between the most important points of the city and the times for sure. So from this measure, we just change the content and we add the information every write the Metro Games. So Metro Games is the Metro Minuto implemented with an interactive map and the social games that I'm going to explain to you later. So the intention was to create a contest game in the city center, in the cities, in order to try to make that people change behavior and start to walk in the city. For sure, we realized it's still in process. We realized a platform, a web portal associated with this WebGIS platform, sorry, which is an interactive map that I show you later. And indicates for sure times to walk, and also is also other information about commercial activities or cultural sites, and other things. So in the web portal, in the website, you can find the rules of the games, the price, who we are, the municipalities, of course, the metro minuto, but also the analysis and the statistic that we are going to develop while the game is still going on. So the games, how it works. To play, you need to download the app from the platforms, Apple Store or Google Play Store, and the city is actually divided in different neighborhoods, and the gamers, which are more or less the citizens, they had to identify their neighborhood, and the participants and the neighbors, they have to compete among themselves. So when players play the games, they can play alone or create a community, depending on their lives, and play together. So the games try to also to put together people in order to play together. And of course, like a treasure hunt, the player have to identify the icons, which are symbols that I will show you later. They are placed in the cities, so the players can go walking or by bike, trying to find the icons around the city. Now we have, it's 1 week, we produce the first icons that we show you later. And for sure, the game, the cities are there are more cities that they are experimenting gamification, has tool to involve people and administrators in the decision, in urban decision. But what we find very interesting is that gamification for sure increase the civic engagement. Later I will show some pictures, but especially change citizens' attitude, and for sure create interactivity in the urban context. Of course, there are some prize in the game, and the prize can be individual or community prize. So we are still to promote that the municipality will work and on the urban renovation in order to give prize to the people who are to the winners. And of course, we in the process of the project, we had we bring some analysis, and we for sure we collected some data. Here we can see some homeschool questionnaires result that involve more or less all the schools of the municipality. We also define time distance map between the home and the school, and who brings you to school in different kind of in different hours of the day. So you can find in the website also more information, and those are, for example, the position of the home and the route that the guys, the babies, and the students make usually when they walk from home to school, or the safe path that we choose in order to insert the icon. So all those kind of maps are kind of analysis we made during the project process. So we also organized some interaction webinar in order to co-design the metro games. And this was the interesting part, because we asked to the students and to help us to imagine what kind of icons we can insert in the city, inspired to mobility, but also to the imagine of the city. So how the people imagine the city. And the most beautiful was this one, because we asked to the boys and girls how you will go back to school after COVID, and one of those one girl's answer, by wind. They draw this umbrella. That's why, because they even don't imagine that the public space used by cars is public space. They really even don't imagine that also the street can be public space. For them, it's not something that, for sure, they are very younger. And from this contest game, we produce some icons that now already are printed, and we are going to insert in the city. Those icons for sure tell more about the different ways to move inside the city, but also some typical product of the city, which is the onion and the red onion, and also the water, which is gives the name to the city, Acqua Viva. This is aqua. So we also have Facebook page, and we this year in 2 months we get a lot of prizes and mentions. The Treno Verde of Legambiente National Association, but also Walk 21 Seoul, and the Biennale of Spazio Pubblico in Italy dedicate one page to our project, which is still in process, actually. So for sure, this Metro Minuto advanced social games that we call Metro Games represent a powerful social learning tool to involve users and citizens to promote mobility, sustainable mobility. And this week was very interesting because we test for the first time the icon. So it was easy in some moment to explain to the small boys, younger boys, to children to download the app and take the pictures. So it's still a testing game. So it was also a nice occasion, a nice to involve citizens and municipalities and parents in this changing view. And so for sure, this game for us represents an opportunity to promote active citizens, and also a different way of lifestyles. And for sure, here you can see some images of the meeting, and also the municipality, which was also involved to start with this project. In 2 weeks, we are going to insert the icon in the cities, and we start to test the game just to see if it works and if it's possible to promote this gamification as a change of mind and use of the public space. So I hope with this Metro Games, finally we can let children rule the street. So thank you very much. And if you have some question, I'm here because it's really still in process, the construction of the game. You can visit our website. I can add the website is
we send the link, I guess.
Yeah, I can send you the link.
Yeah.
And also, if you have 2 seconds, probably I can share the platform, which is, for example, okay, here you can see the website, yeah. How many minutes? So here you have the game rules, the rules of the game. You can easy, it's still in Italian, but we are going to translate in other languages. And here we have the interactive map. You can see the interactive map.
Yes.
It's going on. That's a little bit. Okay, and so you can join the map and choose the icon which explains you the cities, but also or turn on the all the attractors in the cities, but also the schools and also the route, the route that the people are used to do.
Perfect.
And also
really
know more about how it's important to walk. Now it's still in process, so we are going to translate and make it better. It's really a pilot project.
Thank you, Loredana.
Thank
this
you
is
to
really
you.
cool. Wish you all the best with that. I hope that we're gonna stay in touch, and I'm gonna be informed about the further development of the project. Now we're gonna move to some more detailed research by our guest Nafsika, who is a PhD researcher from Northumbria University, UK. Nafsika is an architect with a special interest in health, promoting and inclusive places. She's currently doing her PhD at Northumbria University, exploring the indicators of active streetscapes for children and how children's experiences could inform better planning and design. Her research interests focus on the crossroads between spatial design, public health, and health behavior, and she's interested in the influence of the built and natural environment on children's health and well-being. Nafsika, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me and be part of this amazing webinar. So I'll try to keep it really brief and short. As you already said, I'm a PhD student, so what I'm going to present you is part of my PhD research. And the whole point is how the built environment can promote active school travel, and the best way to explore that is asking children, of course. So today I'm going to tell you what kind of participatory maps I have used so far. I'm not going to talk about the importance of the built environment to promote physical activity or the importance of active school travel as everyday habit, or all the benefits of active school travel for children's well-being and development. I'll try to get straightforward to my research activities. So I managed just before COVID to complete my data collection with 5 primary schools in Newcastle upon Tyne, where I'm lived and I'm doing my research. So I have worked with primary schools and more specifically with year 5, which means 9 to 10 years old children in different parts of the city. So the 2 main activities that I ran with the children was first my journey to school, where children, like the whole classroom, could describe their journey to school, what they like, they don't like about the journey, and actually they had the chance to map the route, the actual route to the school or back home. And using the same map, we did also some focus groups with the same but bigger map, and using some stickers and prompt cards in order to give them the opportunity to talk more in detail about their journey to school, or in general, neighborhood design, their experiences of the public spaces, whatever they would like actually to express and talk. The point was to have a discussion in between them in order to express their experiences and how they feel about the public space. So for the first part of my journey to school, the likes and dislikes, we have already published a paper that you may be interested to have a look. And we are trying to understand children's experiences based on behavior change frameworks, and then inform the role of the built environment in active school travel promotion. But for the rest of the data, I have mainly used QGIS to geocode all the data, which actually it's a really helpful and a free tool, the QGIS version, because you can actually have all the comments and experiences of the children, but also at the same time you have all the objectively measured built environment features, so you can directly understand how the experiences may be influenced by the built environment. And this is the whole point of my research as well. And also, I mapped in the same tool with the QGIS, I have mapped all the actual routes that the children mapped. It's really important because I was able to calculate the actual, the shortest routes and compare with the actual. And I just found out that a big number of the walking, especially routes, they diverge the shortest. So the children may not use the shortest, but another route for some reasons. And this is a whole body in literature about how understanding the choices of the routes, we can understand how the design could promote active school travel. And apart from my study, already many studies, they found the same, that children may not use the shortest or the most direct route, which means that other features, other things from the urban design approach may affect the route choice. For example, the land uses or the street, the path design or the car traffic. So I'm going to share with you some examples. So this is the data from one school where I found that some of the segments in the map, they were selected, even though they weren't the shortest routes. And some of the shortest, they weren't selected for some reasons. So just a few examples to let you understand what I'm talking about. Here, so the orange segment is the one, the actual one, and the green one, it's the shortest, which wasn't selected. So from this example, for example, we can see that the selected segment has lots of trees, and we can see this is also here, there is also a park. On the other hand, the one that it wasn't selected, it was mainly commercial, for example, land uses. The car traffic was more or less the same. Similar example from the same street. Again, the selected one, more trees. We have also a bike lane. We don't have so much traffic. On the other hand, the non-selected one, again, we have commercial uses mainly, and we have a bit more of traffic. Here, a more clear example. On the selected segment, we have mainly residentials, and we have all these openings and the windows that are looking straight. And even though both the street and the pavement is more narrow, if you compare with the non-selected but shortest one, still it is more preferable when you have a narrow street, but you have more openings and windows from the houses to look at the street. Also, something really interesting about the street in the selected segment, we can see that in order to to get to this segment, you get through a continuous pavement, a pedestrianized part of the street. So here you don't actually need to cross, which seems to be really supportive for active travel. Another more characteristic, I would say, example is this one. Again, the preferred segment, we have houses, openings, windows that they are looking into the street. On the other hand, we have the shortest option, which is not selected, is the back street, the alley, both commercials and residentials, which wasn't, of course, selected. It's quite obvious why. But here it's also interesting to see some of the comments from the children. So I had two exactly the same comments about the selected segment, which was about feeling this familiarity of the street, like this is our street, and that's why we feel safe, and it's nice to walk there. It's our street. And last one, here again, the alley, it's not preferred. So even though we have some openings, again, it's not preferred. Because it's preferred this segment, which is next to a quite busy street, and the pavement is quite narrow. But possibly, again, the same effect of this continuous pavement and the link to the school, maybe, probably, could make the cycling and the walking easier. So in order to conclude, I would say that from this small sample so far, the choice seems to be influenced by, first of all, the street connectivity, which is something completely different analysis, but also this effect of the front gardens and the looking at the street. So when people, they feel that they are walking in a safe, also the lower car traffic volumes. But what is really interesting in terms of the built environment and the street design is also this kind of traffic calm interventions, when you can provide a continuous pavement and the easy option for children and their parents to walk or cycle. So this is me. I hope I was quite brief. And thank you very much. If you have any questions,
Thank you.
I'm more than happy.
Thank you. That was really scientific presentation. We'll stay in the scientific mood, but we'll move a little bit higher in the scientific hierarchy, because we invite to the floor Professor Marco, professor in urban mobility futures of University of Amsterdam. In his academic work, he develops constructive critical contributions to debates about urban mobility innovations. His research focuses on the role that narratives play in limiting our understanding of problems and solutions, and how alternative narratives can increase our cognitive flexibility. Dutch cycling is often used as a symbolic lens that can show radical alternative narratives for mobility. Professor, the floor is yours. Is Professor with us? Or the professor has left the building? We are a little bit out of time, to be honest, but Poetska, do you know what happened, maybe?
I think he's left. So I have to explain a little bit.
Okay, then. So we're gonna move straight. As I said, we are a little bit out of time, but I guess that we still can manage to do at least short questions and answers session. We had a question on chat to Eva and Lucas from the beginning of our presentation. It was the question from Holly Harrison. As I said to Aoife and Lucas, in your opinion, what do you think is the best way for adults to get kids and teenagers involved with the planning and design of their cities? Maybe we'll start with Aoife. Oh, Aoife is...
Hi. It's not Aoife, it's Adele. Sorry, Aoife is just after bringing her sister around to a friend's house, so she stepped out at that moment. But we've talked about this just as we were preparing her presentation the other day, and we were working on it over the weekend. She wants to see kids kind of campaigning more, to really involve them in the campaigns that are happening, because the campaigns that are happening are almost always attended by mainly adults. So she's really reminded of the time that she was in the St. Patrick's Day parade with the picture that she showed you in her presentation earlier on, which is a picture mainly with children taking over the streets, and she thinks that the visual impact of that is a really, really good one. That it sort of brings power to the children if they're out there campaigning together, and it encourages more and more children to get involved. Her involvement in anything that she has done so far has really put a really good spotlight on cycle safety here. So I think it's really that she would like to see children involved in more campaigns and getting their voices heard by making themselves visible and noticed.
Okay, thank you very much. And Lucas, how about you? Your point of view over that?
What was the question again?
The question was, in your opinion, what do you think is the best way for adults to get kids and teenagers involved with the planning and design of their cities?
I think it's important, or a good first step is getting as many as possible junior bicycle mayors in your city. Then when you have junior bicycle mayors, the city have a person where they can talk to, and that the child can represent all the other childs. And as I already earlier mentioned, I'm going to talk next Tuesday, so in 2 days I'm going to talk with someone from the city of Amsterdam about about this thing, about the mobility in Amsterdam. So and they want to talk with me because I am a junior bicycle mayor. So I think if we fix more junior bicycle mayors in other cities, it's easier for cities to then it's when we have junior bicycle mayors in other cities, they know who they can talk to and who can help them in making decisions.
Thank you, Lucas. I see on the chat that other questions were answered already in the chat. So there is I guess no need. If people do you have any more questions? Like maybe someone would like to carry on with the discussion. There are no more voices heard here.
Yeah, I was thinking, just thinking loud. Is it maybe an idea, Lucas, that you visit like schools and that you talk about it, and maybe doing a workshop, like give ideas, make a mock-up of the street, and let them think about it, how they maybe should design the infrastructure. It's just an idea, just thinking loud now.
Yes, yes. Now it's very strange to talk English to someone who I also could talk Dutch to, but it's an idea. Yes, we. I mean, I am going to the College Lyceum. It's a very big school here in Amsterdam with somewhat of 1,800 students, and if I mean all those 1,800 students have a different way of thinking about certain things, and it will be very interesting to hear what they are thinking. And of course, I mean all those students live in a other neighborhood and they see other things, and most of the students, that is something I really like, are going to school with their bike. We have a big schoolyard, and it's always full with bicycles. I mean, they are on the street and they see things, and it would be yes, indeed, a very interesting thing to to know what they think about the infrastructure or what they would improve.
That's cool. That's perfect. Okay. Thank you. Let's say thank you, our dear guests. Thank you for the presentations. That was really inspiring, all of you. I would like to invite you to contact us. The Placemaking Europe kids, you can contact us through Gmail. Also, you can visit the webpage. We invite you for the networking session that's going to take place on June the 30th. And if you are also interested, the next step is going to be a presentation about Let the Children Rule the Streets during the Walk Bike Places conference in Indianapolis. It's going to take place in 2 weeks. So I want you to take a look at our Miro board and leave your beautiful photos. I've seen some cool photos already. That looks really great. And yeah, now remember about one really crucial thing, I guess. Don't be such an adult. And it's the 1st of June. Let's go and grab some ice cream. Now relax. Thank you for your great presentation once again, for your presence. And yeah, I hope see you soon during next webinar. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Vivi, you can stop.
Bye-bye.
Bye.